Hello, everybody. Welcome to Ian Gamesmith. This is a series we've been doing of Games by Design, where we play independent and new games with the designers of the game itself. We did an awesome series with Tracy Barnett and Iron Edda a couple of weeks ago, and now we're here with some of the designers of Descent into Midnight, which is an awesome Powered by the Apocalypse game of sort of a psychological investigation of sentience that takes place in an aquatic world untouched by humans, which is pretty fantastic. This is the second in the series. If you didn't see the first one, you should definitely go check that out. We do a lot of world building, kind of like we built up our whole little city that we're going to be playing the game in, and it's really exciting. It's a whole lot of fun. We're out one Mika tonight. She was not feeling up to streaming, so we're wishing her better health and happiness, and hopefully she will be back with us next week. And next week we will also be joined by Rich Howard, the third of the design team from Descent into Midnight. So we'll have the full crew here for the finale next week. Today with us, though, we have two of the designers and our special guest. Amato, please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, I'm Amato. I'm a amateur game designer from Phoenix. Glad to be here and help you all run a good show.
Excellent. Thanks so much for coming out. Taylor, would you like to introduce yourself?
Absolutely. So I am Taylor LaBresh. I am on Twitter at Leviathan Files. You can find all sorts of really awesome stuff that I do at riverhousegames.com, including Game Closet, which is a podcast that talks to all sorts of really awesome queer and LGBT plus designers. Streamers, players, whatever, anyone who does stuff in RPGs. And I am overjoyed to be here playing Descent into Midnight.
Fantastic.
In my opinion, which is absolutely not biased at all, it's the best role-playing game that's ever been written.
All right.
And no pressure, because this is your first time playing the game.
It's my very first... Listen, I've run it many dozens of times.
Fair enough. And last but not least, we have the person leading us through the story this time around. Richard, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure, I'm Richard Kreutz-Landry. You can find me at r.kreutz-landry on Twitter, where I pretty much live. You can also find my work at www.origamigaming.com, where I do my origami artist stuff and a little bit of gaming stuff. And my pronouns are he, him, and I'm running the game today.
Oh man, thanks so much for that. I failed at pronouncing. I use they, them pronouns. We have the pronouns on screen for our humans here, and then our characters are going to have separate pronouns as well. I think they're all they, except for Pando, which is we, right? These
Yes.
are plural pronouns. Awesome. Great. And then the floor is yours, Richard. I don't think you have any other announcements or anything, so
All right, sounds good. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to recap, because we created, as usual, a buck wild world. Right? Actually, Ian, do you want to give a little bit of detail about the city we created last time?
Sure. We created this really interesting city kind of built around impermanence. It's really fascinating. So there is this community that is centered under these large stone sort of columnar things that fan out into whale tails that are floating in the ocean, with like part of the rock sticking out like a whale's tail when they dive and when they breach, which is called a fluke. Yeah, that's the term for when you see the whale tail. We're also calling these floating stones flukes, and there's several of them kind of centered over the city. They have a couple of interesting features, but the most notable of which is that as the surf kind of crashes over them, it creates these deep thrumming harmonic vibrations that kind of like lay down almost like a chord structure of the ocean over the whole environment. Everything just resonates with this like deep, powerful oceanic music. And then also the crashing of the waves over these things just fills the surrounding area with bubbles. There's just like a lot of light, effervescent, fine bubbles all through this region. We have this kind of like backing of a deep music from the flukes, and the sort of indigenous species to this area is group of kind of hermit crab type creatures that have constructed onto their shells in such a way that they catch the currents of the water and sort of almost play a melody over the layer of the kind of harmonic that the flukes set down. So where they position themselves and how they move catches the currents in different ways and adds all these other, sort of different harmonics and vibrations and influences to what we have kind of been talking about in Twitter is the singing city. We might come up with an actual name, but that's definitely what, one of the things that the city is known as is the singing city. And then another super fun thing about the city is that at low tide, these floating columns that are kind of like just chilling over the city will actually descend low enough to contact the city. And so every the low tide is on like an annual cycle, and once a year these stone columns will just come down and crush some random building in the city. So that's what I was saying. It's built around impermanence. Like, nobody expects any structure to last for long. And in fact, it's kind of seen as like a blessing when one of these things comes and destroys an edifice, because it means it was that thing's time to go, and that there's a potential for new creation there. So I think that was the high level, all the city bits. Did I miss anything important, guys?
I mean, those are that's sort of the big highlights. We've got a couple of other things going on. We have these 8-legged marine iguanas that live up on top of the flukes, and they're called salt horns because they form these like horn-like substances that come out of their heads that are formed when they expel the salt from the salt water they have to drink. And that substance is actually used by the hermit crabs to repair their shells as they get damaged. One other thing that we've got going on is floating on the surface around the city as sort of a ubiquitous food source. We have these prism fish, which are these flat fish that float along the surface, sort of like lily pads almost, and absorb the light from the sun and use that to feed themselves. And then if you need to eat and you're a fish, you just come right up and you chomp a little bit off and good to go. And that also sort of provides like a rainbow shimmer that goes down below the surface of the waves, down onto the sand below, because they're this translucent prismy color. What else do we have? We have we can't forget the shell below the city in the center. So there's a huge sort of like abalone-ish shell right below the center of the singing city that focuses not only the sound but the echo as well, which is sort of it's the dimension next door that the psionic communication between the characters runs through, and it's how they speak and how they're able to communicate. It's also probably a place that if you wanted to communicate with beings from, let's say, other dimensions and things like that, it would be a good place to do that. Going on with the coral structure that had been unsmashed by the impermanence, it's a place that we decided sort of has a reputation for being a little haunted, maybe. Creatures who go there come back different. And in fact, we got into the backstories of some of the different characters. And Taylor, do you want to talk about the buds and what happened with them?
Yeah, so my character is named Pando, and we are the interconnectedness of all living things. We have a bunch of little friends that kind of do and serve our needs, and those are the buds. They're like little soot sprites, from like Miyazaki movies. They're tiny little, maybe urchins, but like they've got cartoony arms and legs and stuff. And they skitter about my garden, which is attached to one of those big flukes as it blooms and spreads. And the buds just kind of live throughout the world. They themselves are impermanent. They can only be at most 3 of 4 things between vocal, tactile, or docile. And so it's just kind of almost as if it were a new position within the wilderness of life. Yeah, those are the buds.
All right.
Good buds.
And what happened with them and the unsmashed coral structure and the garden?
Oh, so here's a secret about me, Richard, is that my memory is absolute garbage, and I don't have it written down in my notes.
Amazing. No worries. So what I have in mind is that that Pando's garden is on one of these singing stones, one of the flukes, and they awoke. They became sentients. They came into being sometime after the last impermanence. So they haven't been around for one of these before, and some of their buds a while back took off to go look at something in this region of unsmashed coral, and they came back changed. And Amado, your character Kihar had to do something about it.
Mm-hmm. Turns out everything that goes in that tower becomes much stronger and much less respectful of the city. And so the buds attempted to accelerate the schedule of the whole city to increase its efficiency, or something. Who knows what they were thinking. And Kihar had to destroy them all, unfortunately. It was awakened from their glacier, came over, realized that they were not able to be reasoned with by what's the exact word? By using their transferable consciousness to try to embody these new and improved buds, and had to just devour them all. It's the only way.
You do.
Do you want to describe Kihar a little bit?
Kihar is Empoleon from Pokemon. It is a water and steel typed penguin that looks kind of like a jet, underwater jet.
Nice.
But yeah, it's just a cyborg penguin that crash landed here from space as an egg, and used their transferable consciousness to figure out what needed to be done here and what role to play, and just does that because it's a weapon. It's a construct.
All right. So Ian, now that we've kind of heard actually about the other two characters, you want to give us a refresher on Call?
Sure thing. Call is an exceptionally large jellyfish, and one that's kind of has the domed top, and then instead of like the little stringy tentacles down from the bottom, they have like these really big, wide, almost like wings or flipper kind of like tentacles that they can kind of use to encircle things and like sort of like cradle things inside to protect them. They are large, kind of on this not like whale large, but I was said earlier like VW bug sized jellyfish, and have bioluminescence that they can kind of like. It's more of a emotive thing. They can't like directly communicate. We don't need it anyway because we have psionics, I guess. But their emotions are definitely displayed through their colors that they project.
Awesome. All right. So last time we left off with the idea that the Impermanence has just started, and like we said, the stones come down with the low tide and they smash these different buildings, and it's seen as a blessing when that happens. The community comes together and celebrates the rebuilding after the Impermanence, which was what we call the low tide. And they rebuild and they celebrate, and life starts anew. In this particular case, however, something strange happened. This weird region of coral that had never been smashed before seemed to draw the stone almost like a magnet toward itself, and smashed itself almost against this stone directly in Pando's garden, which grew on this stone, wrecking a good deal of it. And in the process, the coral remained untouched. So, this is very strange. What do you do?
Like, this has just happened is where we're picking
This
up.
just happened.
Oh, wow. I think, I mean, so, like, when the Flukes descend, it's like a moment of, like, sort of community attention, right? Like, people are watching to see what building is hit and stuff. So I think that call would have seen that Pando's garden got wrecked, and that would be their first thought, would be to go check on Pando and see how they're doing.
All right. Actually, let's start out the game with a roll. How about that?
Sure.
So Taylor, I'm going to imagine that this might be a little traumatic for Pando.
Yeah, it sucks.
So why don't you go ahead and give us a roll for endure off of the special moves sheet.
I would love to do that, Richard.
All right. And for those playing along at home, endure. When you endure physical, emotional, or psychic trauma, roll plus conditions marked. On a 10 plus, it takes its toll. Either remove yourself from the scene in some way, or choose two from the following list. On a 7 to 9, choose one. The trauma unsettles you, you can mark a condition. The trauma impairs your physical, emotional, or psychic defenses, mark corruption. Your attempt to defend yourself goes wrong, expose an ally to danger. Or the trauma damages you in some way. Take -1 ongoing and remain in pain, distressed, or distracted until you receive help as defined by the narrative.
Yeah. So I have no conditions marked,
All right.
and it is a 5 on the dice.
Oh boy.
So
That's
I avoid and I mark harmony as normal.
that's actually one of the moves that you want to roll low on, which is perfect. So you mark a harmony, which in Descent into Midnight is sort of our equivalent of experience. It's how you advance. You've got a track of 5 that, as you fill it up, you get closer and closer to unlocking advancements and doing something else in the community. So we didn't talk about this last time, but typically if you're playing Descent into Midnight around a table, one of the things you would be doing as you're doing all this this world building and creating all the features of the city is you would be drawing them out. And so, for instance, with this game, we would probably have something for obviously the unsmashed coral area. something obviously nefarious is going on there, right? Something weird's going on there. You'd have probably the big focusing shell below. You would have maybe the prism fish represented there, and the flukes, the singing stones, and maybe a few other things. And as you fill up your harmony track, or alternatively the bad one, the corruption track, when you do that, you get a token, which you then get to place on the map to represent the corruption or the harmony that you've created in the community, and you work together as a group to describe what's going on. So
that's very cool.
We may take a shortcut at some point and do that. Actually, let's do that now. So we can pretend that we filled up the corruption track, and so we've got a corruption token which we're going to place directly on that unsmashed coral area. Something bad is going on there. So what do we think it means? Anybody have any ideas for what this could be that's going on?
So like this is meant to signify a change in it, because this has been unsmashed for a long time.
Yeah, so in this particular case, it's something that's I think it may be that there's been something there all along, but it has made itself known in this case. And so during the course of play, if you were playing a longer game, it would be like maybe someone fills their corruption track. At that point, they would clear it. They would gain a corruption move, which is something that's really cool and does really awesome stuff, but at a cost. But then you would also, like we said, get this corruption token that you would place somewhere into the community. Because one of the themes of the game, right, is the sort of interconnectedness of you and the community around you, and how you can affect it and it can affect you. So in this case, we're going to say, all right, let's go ahead and drop a virtual corruption token onto this unsmashed coral. So at this point, all we know is that creatures who go there come back different, and that it has somehow managed to fend off the singing stone and damage Pando's garden. So what do your characters fear is there?
I don't know. I mean, there's
think
clearly
that
like
might even-
some. What's that?
That might even be it right now, is that we don't know, and that scares us.
Yeah.
All right. I like
Because especially if you have this community of impermanence, you know, I feel like there's not a lot of like ancient mysteries, you know?
Yeah.
So anything that exists has existed long enough that we've been able to like look at it and learn at it. There hasn't been anything that's been outside of our memory. So like the fact that this is like something that we just don't know about, and it's going to continue to be something that we don't know about in the future because it's not being destroyed right now. And that sort of like sense of unease and anxiety passes through all of us. And because I got this really nice image of as the fluke came down and like connected with that coral thing. I'm gonna try and do that for real good.
Yeah.
As it kind of connected with that piece of coral and didn't break, all of the buds that were kind of living in the garden just kind of shook off. As that vibration just like unsettled it. And so it's maybe from like a long camera view, you see that like giant fluke just settle down, and then almost like dust, all the buds fall off of it.
Wow.
And then the coral piece starts vibrating with the impact. And that I think is very frightening to Pando.
Ooh, I love that.
That's probably a brand new noise.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah. It's a discordant note, right? In the song.
Oh, I like that. I imagine it was like a moment of like prior to the contact. It was like a moment of joy, like this thing that has been, you know, it's a little weird that this hasn't been crushed, but now it's going to happen. Yay! Like, you know, the cycle's complete, and then to have like that subverted into like the horror of not.
Oh yeah. Of like having it be like, okay, here's the expectation. It's a celebration that this is finally going to happen, and then the horror when it doesn't.
Yeah, that's rough.
I love that. All right. So with that, the buds are definitely like coming off of the singing stone. We can see that happening. Ian.
Yeah.
There's a particular hermit crab
Mm-hmm.
that you're aware of. We talked a little bit about the tradition of these hermit crabs using their shells to create an extra melody over the sounds of the singing stones. And in particular, this particular hermit crab has a very special shell. You want to let's recap what's going on with them.
Yeah. So one of Call's sort of sonic abilities is multi-sense. They just have senses that go beyond, you know, normally what we would think of as the kind of traditional physical senses. And one of the ways that manifests is that they can kind of get a sense of structural integrity, almost like sort of X-ray density kind of vision. And they can tell that the head singer, the head of the hermit crab orchestra, choir, some combination therein, has a flaw in their shell, such that it, you know, oh, that's right. And I can hear the harmonic. I can hear that it's off. Like, so to Call's kind of broader senses, it doesn't fit with the rest of the song that's being played. And Call knows it's because of this imperfection, but they have not been able to convince anybody to listen and to heed that, and that we shouldn't put this particular crab under the sort of higher stress positions of the crab musicians.
All right. So I think with this impact, and as everyone is sort of watching and preparing to join the song that can only be played or only be sung at the low tide at the Impermanence.
Yes.
You see all of these hermit crabs on the other stones doing their best to maintain the song. Each of the notes coming from the other stones is exactly what it should be, even despite this horrible event. However, on the damaged stone, which is now sort of listing to one side, we have this song leader who has climbed most of the way to the top, who is just distraught and going out of their mind. You see them panicking and begin to try and rally the rest of the hermit crabs to try and make up something to go with this strange note that the coral, the unsmashed coral, is making, and this stone, which is now out of position, is making.
Yeah. Oh man, I wish we had our muse. We really need Mika right now.
Boy, sure would be great.
So is it propping up the Fluke?
Yeah.
Or did it just redirect it somewhere else?
So I would imagine that like you have this sort of this dark mound of coral, right? And the stone came down and it smashed against one side of it and just scraped a huge chunk of it, and like the stone moved to one side and is now maybe laying against it even.
Was it a tower? The haunted part?
Sure.
I can't remember.
It's a coral structure. We haven't quite defined it yet. So what do you think?
I was seeing it as like something like some kind of pike set against a charge.
Okay.
Oh.
And so we're used to like, oh, well, here comes the thing, and it's just like, crushes whatever it runs into. But this time it's just like, oh no, it's not supposed to do that, and it's like flipping the wrong way and stuff like that. It's being stressed in ways it's never been stressed before.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love
It's
that.
been redirected completely. So like I'm imagining like when the Titanic snaps, like is tipping over, but it's not a structure that's meant to float that way. And so like you can hear it straining and cracking, and eventually gonna snap in half maybe. But we don't know. This has never happened before.
Right.
And so Kihar's sitting there like, okay, I would like to know what the is going on with that coral, and why is it so strong, and why didn't our multi-sense person guess that its construction was such that it was unsmashable? Because like it would have to be something we don't know about.
Okay.
Because everything we know about, we'd be able to tell, like, oh,
Right.
this coral's a little different, it's not going to be smashable. Or so basically Kiar's doing triage right now.
Okay.
It's like,
So-
okay, that's important, but we got to figure that out later. Right now we need to know like how important is the Fluke? Is the Fluke in danger? Is the Fluke going to get broken? Is that okay? Because like this is stuff that like Kihar hasn't been around long enough to know, like, when's the last time a Fluke got broken in half by like whatever.
Okay.
That's like some deep lore that I don't know.
And we'll go ahead and reiterate. So the one of the things about Descent into Midnight, you're playing these psionic fish, and they have a deep connection to each other, such that if they choose to, they can share anything and everything they experience with each other. So with that, like all of those thoughts going through Kihar's head, is that something that they want to share with the group as they're having them?
Well, yeah, because nobody else knows what the hell to do. And Kihar's like, all right, well, later on we're gonna do this, but for now, who's the oldest person here? It's not the baby Pando. Pando doesn't know. Pando knows less than me. Like, it's got to be somebody else.
All right.
Like, when's the last time this happened? Is like basically the
Okay.
order that's going out. Like, and
Sounds like Call. What do you think? What's Call doing in this situation?
So I think that Call would be a little bit torn between the concern for Pando, obviously, because their garden just got crushed, but also there's this song crab that they've been trying to warn away from danger this whole time, and now the danger is like imminent for it, right? So I think that's where their focus is. As far as like when's the last time one of these flukes broke?
Yeah, so I think never is the answer.
Yeah.
So, but what is Call's reaction to that? They've got a lot of stuff going on. What's going to be their priority? Are they going to try and answer Kihar's question and assess the structural integrity of the fluke? Are they going to try and find the song leader, or are they?
Yeah. Call's focus is definitely on the living things. So I think they will communicate back to Kihar and say, I need you to check on the song crab. I'll check on Pando.
All right.
Kind of like,
but we already know Pando's fine, right? Because Pando rolled a 5. Pando's bragging about it to everybody.
So Taylor, how do you think Pando is sort of feeling and sort of emoting to the rest of the group?
Well, the buds are kind of like floating down, almost like snow, but then almost like as if it were a current of warm water, move back up towards the fluke, and like rush over it. And I apologize if anyone has a thing for like spiders or like swarming insects. Please let me know ahead of time if this is okay to go on and like do this.
I think you're good.
Okay. And it's this squad in the number of thousands just goes over and completely covers the fluke, trying to figure out if there are any cracks or holes. I imagine there were some like superficial. There's some superficial damage from the impact site, but we're really examining the fluke more so than we really have ever had. And I'm trying to lean towards that scan the environment move.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Go for it.
So I'm going to roll with community, which I have a +1 in.
All right.
Oh boy. That's a 5 total.
Oh dear.
All right. The 5's not so good this time.
Yeah.
Okay. So what I'm going to say on that is you have the buds, and as you said, most of them do sort of like rush back up and swarm the stone. You are able to you can tell that things are not good. Because it is, you're not 100% sure whether the strange vibration in the stone is because it is still somewhat laying against this strange structure and it's some sort of resonance between the two of them, or if it is just the stone itself that has sort of soured its note. You're just not sure. In addition, that time, a little time ago when those buds sort of went into that unsmashed structure and came out a little different.
Yeah.
Well, some of them just kind of drifted down there and didn't come back up, and we'll deal with that in a little bit.
Good.
Yeah. All right. So what is Kihar doing at this point?
Well, I was told to go check on a song dude.
All right.
And so I'm gonna go destroy the buds that got sucked into the tower.
Okay.
Because I'm like, the song guy is your responsibility. My responsibility is when these buds go crazy again, because this thing just made its play.
Mm-hmm.
This I'm a warrior, and I know when an enemy's been laying in your midst and it reveals itself, it's for a reason. Not just for shock and awe. It's to make a play. It's to gain something. This is what it wants to gain. It wants that garden. It wants those buds. Otherwise, Panda would be dead. And so I go and start dealing with the buds, like, immediately. I follow them in there.
Okay. That sounds like you're doing something pretty dangerous, maybe. Do you have a move in your playbook that you'd like to use for that?
Well, it depends on whether I'm right. So, like, if there's an actual enemy in here, then yeah, it would matter if these people think if you all think I can deal with it, and
all right,
if there is an opponent, that's why I'm going this way.
I'd say let's use the move. So yeah, there's definitely something there.
So it's when you remain calm during a conflict with a powerful opponent, ask your allies if they think you can prevail. Do you think I can prevail with this tower that's been invincible and just revealed itself and is trying to make a play on the buds?
We don't.
If they show concern, I'm just immediately like, nope, you failed.
Yeah, I think that would was a vote for concern.
Yeah, mark harmony and take +1 forward. Okay, so I got a +1 forward.
Okay, so you've got yourself a +1 forward, and you get to mark harmony as you sort of redouble your resolve. Gosh, what move do we want to use for this? There's a lot of good ones. I'm going to...
I have another move.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it's called Go to It Laughing. So if I, like, go into this tower with joy in my heart, because, like, yes! I'm finally useful! Nobody knows what the hell to do, so now it's my time to shine. And I face a threat, so I'm guessing this... I'm prepared to, like, enter this tower and be like walking through a beaded door, like a door that's made of just a veil, and expecting it just to be like corruption, just like like just like right behind this veil that was like completely cloaking it from everybody. That's what I'm expecting. Or I'm expecting like 8 million buds that it's been collecting over the years, or something like that, and just like a huge threat, but I don't know, and I know that none of our senses can penetrate it, so I'm just like, well, this is what I'm for.
So we get this picture of Kihar just like zooming down towards this coral structure, and like the camera is like following them as they're swimming in and around sort of the little bits and pieces that are sticking out of it. It's like the very trench run Star Wars, right, going on. You're going in and out.
Yeah.
And you see this opening, and you go in. And go ahead and roll and see how you do, and we'll find out what happens from there.
Let's see, 4 plus drive plus 1. My drive is 1, so I get a 6, which is garbage. Let's see. There's no instructions for what to do on a 6.
Okay, that is definitely a miss. So we can, if we want to, do a couple of things. If you believe you're facing the challenge as a team, we can say that you're acting as a team, and we can go through that process. I don't think that's
I'm going Maverick right now. Time to go save the what's going on. I'm like, nope, you're wrong. I'm doing what I'm my own.
We do also have the option of the eponymous descend into midnight move, which is one of the special moves. Now, the way that works is if you embrace the negative emotions within yourself, you can mark corruption and treat the result of any roll you just made or are about to make it as 10 plus. After resolving the move, you get to determine what bad things happened, and then mark a condition associated with the stat with the move you just made. So you can take the failure, or you can kind of give in a little bit and be successful in this case.
I don't have any negative emotions to draw upon at the moment.
Other
than, I mean, like, ignorance isn't a negative emotion. I know people love ignorance, like, so, like, that's bliss, that's the opposite. So, like,
all right.
I'm gonna have to find out what this is before I can get mad at it and destroy it. I think.
Perfect. Okay. So yeah, so you like are swimming here, there, and everywhere around, and then you shoot into this opening, right?
Mhm.
It's dark in there. Most of the city has the light of this of the prism fish, right? That's sort of like diffusing the sunlight into this rainbow color across the sands and the structures beneath it. Um, you go into this dark space, and immediately, um, have you ever like walked into a room or like a place and you just immediately know that you don't belong? Like
All the time.
um yeah, so it's like that but cranked up to about 100. So there's darkness all around you. The sense of connection that you have with the rest of the group, with the other guardians, feels dampened, and the even the light that should be coming in from behind you feels murky. um and you're moving quickly, and you slow down as you come in here because you can't see anything, you can't feel anything. And then all of a sudden, actually, hey Taylor, give us a little bit more detail about what these buds look like when they're normal size.
I'm thinking maybe like the size of a small snail.
Okay, all right.
And I've settled on like an image for them, which
Okay.
is like an orb of pharaoh fluid with current running through it.
Oh, cool.
Whoa, all right.
Yeah. So like that oscillating group of like spines,
Mm-hmm.
but it's very much a liquid. Like they're not like hard and sharp spines.
Very cool.
Yeah, and occasionally like those spines will reach out and become limbs and stuff. But yeah, so those are the buds when they look normal.
Oh, okay, good. So yeah, Kihar, you've seen the buds before. You've never seen one this big. So basically, you're coming through this tunnel. You can barely sense what's around you, but you feel this opening in front of you, and then it is suddenly taken up by something. And you see these tendrils of this like this oscillating black goo that just comes around from all these different directions, and you realize that whatever this thing is, it's nearly as big as the singing stone. You sense its presence, and it is just moving towards you very quickly. What do you do?
Moving towards me very quickly. Well, I'm gonna have to draw it out of its little veil, so I backpedal. I just like do a crazy Ivan and
Nice.
immediately leave because
I'd love to have something happen here.
Oh yeah?
Which is that as you are immediately leaving, like a flash of blossoms erupt in your wake. Like all the things that are burning out, but as you burn out, instead of like fire or rubber, it's like tiny little like growths and algae that sprout up, and create a blocker between you and this giant bud.
Amazing.
And I would like to be activating a playbook move called the Reef Protects Its Own.
Yeah!
You can rapidly create a garden in the surrounding area. When you grow a garden to defend your allies, you gain +1 ongoing to defend another. And any ally you successfully defend takes +1 forward.
All right.
So our psychic connection pierces the veil.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Well, and especially if my buds are there, like I'm there, regardless of if they're corrupted or not. We are the interconnectedness of all living things. So.
Yeah.
It doesn't say all living, non-corrupted things. And I would like to immediately defend another to allow my friend to escape.
Awesome.
Okay.
Oh, that's good. Even without any conditions or without any stats, and I forget what defend another rolls with.
Altruism?
Mm-hmm.
Is that right? Yeah, that is altruism. Oh, hey, guess who rolled a 14, Richard?
Oh shit. All right. So here's what happens. So we've seen like we got the shot of like all the buds coming up and the few that were sort of like sucked down into the structure. We see Kihar shoot in there. We see them like stop and go uh-oh and pop right back out, and we get this like long shot like looking back at Kihar as they're shooting back out of the tunnel, and we see just all of these little tiny buds that have started to deform and like move erratically, just start to explode into this these like polyps and flowers and super bright coral, and you see this thing just smash against the opening that has now been briefly closed while Kihar shoots out.
Very cool.
And for now, you see like something smashing through this and trying to get through it, but you have it contained for the moment. What's Call doing?
Yeah, what is? I think that. So, was the song leader the only creature on the Fluke?
Oh no. There's
like a
tons
bunch
of hermit crabs, and they were trying to rally them. As this is going on, they're starting to freak out.
Yeah. Okay. I think that Call is going to use their telekinetics to just try and lift the Fluke and rotate it so it's not leaning against the coral anymore, and just try and move it away from this thing.
Okay.
It's the quickest way they can figure out how to get people out of harm's way.
All right. That definitely sounds like doing something wondrous when you use your gifts in a spectacular way. Roll plus drive.
So I got a 10.
Okay. So, describe what happens. Tell us how this goes down.
Yeah, so I think you see like the tentacles in the front relative to where the action is of Call kind of like gently float out, and they seem to be manipulating something directly in front of them, but like it's just a proxy for their sort of telekinetic energy that's going out and lifts the Fluke off of the coral structure and rotates it. So it's normally like, vertically aligned, and then at low tide it hits and kind of tips and wobbles and whatnot. But they're bringing it so that it's almost like, more like a 30-degree kind of angle or something like that. So it's floating awkwardly over the city again.
All right. So you 100% do that. The crabs who are on this structure are freaking out, and I think
imagine it sounds like Flight of the Bumblebees right now, like
there's all sorts of things going on. Now your relationship with the song leader is I think strained at best.
Yes.
Do you think they know that in this moment what you are doing is helping?
I don't know. I would hope so. I mean, we're like, as Guardians, we're somewhat known figures in the community, right?
Yeah.
It would be unusual for one of us to go rogue and try and be like destructive on a large scale, but yeah, personal enmity. I don't know. That's
okay.
It's hard to gauge.
Let's come back to that. So Pando, what is Pando doing at this point now that Kihar is safe for the moment?
We're gonna plug that hole up. Our buds.
All right.
I'm trying to grow a helpful creature or plant, so I'm gonna roll plus community.
Okay.
Oh no, I dropped the dice. I'll grab another one. So that is a 9.
Ooh.
So I get to choose 2 from mobile, vocal, tactile, and docile. Oh goodness. So I guess I don't choose mobile or vocal, but I do choose tactile and docile. And I think what
Okay.
that looks like is the exit as Kihar like zooms out of it, just kind of bubbles up and
Oh,
foams
yeah.
up with the bodies of these buds, and just
Okay.
plugs whatever was in there in there.
All right. So you have this thing contained for the moment. What would you like to do next?
We are going to fill Kihar with a sense of a question.
What's
Question.
yeah.
It's a big corrupted bud. It's been hiding there. There's a psychic veil between there, between there and everything outside. We'd have known about it earlier. Like, what do you? I wanted it to come out, and it's still coming out. It's just going to come out somewhere we don't know yet. Besides that place, because you blocked it.
Oh.
So we should probably find out where else it's going to, what its other escape routes are.
Given the options, I think coming out somewhere other than the center of the city is probably better.
So as you're having this discussion, you hear just this like there's already sort of the bass rumble of the stones that are singing as they should be, and sort of the majority of the song with the strange missing note of the damaged stone. And then you hear the boom, boom, boom of this thing trying to get out.
Oh, jeez.
And you hear these 3 just enormous, like, seismic events practically.
My goodness. Coming from the coral?
Coming from the coral structure.
Okay.
And then silence.
How is it deciding to come out some other place?
Great.
Okay. So at this point, I'm going to say that that Call, like, with your abilities, you're definitely able to get the stone mostly upright to where it should be, and moved away from the unsmashed structure.
Okay.
What's your next move? As people panic and they try and get back to the song, and the stone seems to be mostly intact from what you can tell.
I think I would like to, once I deposited the Fluke somewhere, I think I will go investigate the coral. And kind of, I mean, as Keyheart called out, it's strange that I didn't sense anything was up with it before, so I'll think I'll take kind of a more careful assessment of it now.
All right, that definitely sounds like scanning the environment.
Yeah.
I think your playbook move has a bonus to that.
Yes, I do. I may roll with calm instead of community, which is good because community's -1 for me. Ooh, I'm rolling really well. So that is a 12.
All right. So on a 12 for scan the environment, on a hit, your guide will show you something about your world, and on a 10+, you gain +1 ongoing until the end of the scene when acting on the information you gain. So in this case, we'll frame the scene as basically the next thing that you do to address this. Let's go ahead and give yourself that +1 forward. Sure. Okay, so you approach the coral, and I think because of the experience that you were able to share with Kihar, you have you've experienced a shadow of what they have, of like feeling passing through that veil and understanding at least sort of what effect that had. And I think with your multi-sense, right, you're able to sort of reach out and incorporate that feeling of the veil and the echo to sort of pierce it.
Okay.
And what you feel is you can see that like the top layer of coral here appears to be just like any of the other coral for the buildings nearby. But normally, with the coral, the way that it grows is that as they die, the new coral sort of comes up and grows atop the old, and everything below is dead. It's being used. It's the bones of the structure. But with this, the coral below it is sort of vibrating with this strange energy in the echo, almost like it's like an echo in the echo, I guess. Like the life force of those things is still there instead of dispersing elsewhere, and it's sort of being bottled in somehow.
We have zombie coral.
Now, the interesting thing about that is as you are able to sort of like feel that and you can see it, you realize that there's sort of a tendril of it that goes off in a direction away from the city, off into the distance, and you can just sort of sense it as it sort of travels along.
Like it's something that's actively moving now, or it's like a tether that...
No, more that it's like there's a path of this coral that goes somewhere else. It's not just this structure that is like this. From what you can see, it's almost like a path or a tunnel or something that goes somewhere else. So
underground.
I'll ask you, yeah.
Ooh, okay.
So I'll ask you, what is a strange geographical feature somewhere in the relatively nearby area that's well known and generally considered harmless?
I think that there is I think there's a kelp forest in that direction. One of the ones that's like, surface to, or like seabed to surface, basically.
Yeah.
And maybe it's, I don't know, I like, instead of just being like the typical greens, maybe it's like a really vibrant, like kind of like neon kelp forest kind of thing.
Oh, very cool. All right. Yeah, so you're pretty sure that this goes off toward that.
Okay. So I will kind of project my senses, my understanding of these things to the two of you, and kind of highlight the path that it travels underground. Well,
All right.
If we were channeling it somewhere else, we might know where it's headed now.
So, what do Kihar and Pando do with that information?
Maybe where it came from.
Do I get a sense of how deep it goes?
It looks like it's relatively just beneath the surface for this part of it.
In the part, like, I meant the part, like, in the actual city, like the structure.
Uh-huh.
Okay, cool.
Like, just under what would be smashed, maybe.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, I wonder what did you decide got smashed since you telekinetically moved the Fluke?
Yeah. Yeah, how'd that go?
You're now the smasher. You're the decider.
It's funny. I was going to ask about that earlier, and then I forgot. I think that I think Call would have put it down as carefully as they could where the last impact was. So just sort of nestle it into, the not like last year's, but like another impact from this low tide, if they could.
Okay.
If that's not available, then I don't know.
Okay. All right. So with that, in general, the things are sort of starting to get back to normal a little bit, with everyone trying to pay attention as much as they can to this, maintaining the song at this point. You can hear the song leader atop the singing stone that you've repositioned, starting to go toward the crescendo of their song, and the crabs are sort of like the main inhabitants of the city. A lot of the just sort of regular folk of the city have moved away, sort of terrified by all of these things that have gone on. But the crabs have sort of rallied, and taken up the song as their way of coping with it. What do you do? You can hear just the edge of the note that you think is going to break their shell.
Yeah, Call has no faith that they would listen to them at this point. They've tried to warn them several times, and they don't think that going in person is going to help. So I think Call will communicate that pitch and the danger that it carries to their two fellow guardians. Again, where's Mika? And see if one of them can intervene. Because it won't be received well coming from Call.
What do you think? You think Pando or Kihar would act on it, or will they let it be what it is?
I think Pando's probably too busy trying to fix the garden that's might be peeling off of this Fluke to really pay attention to that.
Okay, how is that going, by the way?
Well, let's see. After I roll plus altruism, I spend downtime tending to my garden. Roll altruism. On a hit, your garden thrives and hold 3 growth. And on a 10 plus, which I got a 10, I also get to choose one. So I'm going to mark harmony because I learned an important truth, or am I inspired to creation? I'm going to choose the important truth.
Oh, okay.
Nice. Timely.
All right. So you're repairing the garden. So Kihar, it comes to you.
I have to save someone who doesn't want to be saved?
You don't have to.
I mean, I'll just... Let's see. So this rival hermit crab is above the water, right?
Yep.
And is about to be eaten by super mosquitoes.
Yeah. So that was the other thing we forgot, is the flesh-eating super mosquito bugs, carnivorous bugs, that eat the hermit crabs as soon as they're out of their shells. Oh, and also the salt horns have taken the hell off and are sort of hopping around on top of the prism fish with the low tide, since they have much less real estate now. So they're swimming around the surface.
So yeah, if their shell cracks while they're on top, they're gonna get ripped up by mosquitoes? Is that the kind of stakes here?
Yep.
I have a transferable consciousness. Can I just like enter the mind of this stupid rival and be like, "Do you want to die?" Like, because I'll let you die if you want to die. It's just like the stoicism like goes into this rival's mind.
Okay, that's really interesting. I think you could, if you wanted to, call that a defend another, or you could call that do something wondrous, depending on how you wanted to do that. So if you're using your gifts in a spectacular way, you're going to roll plus drive. If you're defending another, if you risk your own safety to protect another, altruism. Which of those do you think fits better?
Shoot, I hate to be the person who always picks option C, but am I acting to remove an obstacle in my path?
I was just about to say.
I like that.
Is this guy just getting in my way? Like, come on.
Well, because you have to take care of this before you can go take care of the other thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I love that.
Like, literally, you are an obstacle to me. You are in my way. We have much more important things to do right now. But my friend is worried about you because you don't like him, and he cares about things like that. Or they care about being liked for some reason. They care about their senses being important and their warnings being heeded and all this stuff. And I have to deal with it. Me. The murder penguin is dealing with this, and this is how the murder penguin deals with this.
Oh, and Kihar, if you can use my garden somehow, you get that +1 forward from me defending you.
Right.
You defended me from like the monster though, right?
Yes. However, that
I guess if I show up and I'm like all like decked out in like armor and stuff like that, it's just
oh
like
my gosh. Are you like
coding?
I was gonna say, are you covered in like the bits of like polyp and growth and everything?
Yeah, all the blooms.
Yeah, it's like I'm busy right now, but like it basically just ratchets up the urgency and the fact that like I don't care about this particular problem. I'm already thinking about another one, but I'm transferring part of my consciousness to deal with this one just because that's a thing I do.
That's awesome.
So the fact that I'm covered with buds and ready for bear is part of this. So
and it's also like protecting you against the killer bugs if you need to go up there too.
Oh yeah, that's also raising the stakes of like the bugs are going after the buds probably instead of the shattering shell. All right, I'll roll. It's a 3 and a 4 is 7, plus calm is 2, I believe, because that's what my purpose is, to be calm. So that's 9, and then your defend makes it 10.
Wow. Nice.
I succeed at my task and avoid trouble.
Awesome.
I'm just imagining like RoboCop being like, "Don't want any trouble," like.
All right.
Or I guess if you don't obey me, there will be trouble.
Okay, so I think like the experience for this song leader is they have been told, they have been warned, they have been asked, they have been everything. It's like they have been made aware of this, and yet like there's this strong sense that they need to do, like they need to sing the song because that is what is truly important. And I think the sense of like duty and of this is a thing that I need to do, that Kihar has finally sort of resonates with them, as like they understand that while the song they truly believe is more important than their own life, they realize that they're putting everyone else in jeopardy by not allowing you to do this. And I think there's a moment where, like, again, because each of you can share those experiences, there's a moment where you are able to touch their mind in a way that you hadn't been able to before, or you'd been unwilling to before. and I think there is a like I'm trying to think of something better than psychic bro nod, but like the like there's that moment of respect of, okay, like the city is more important than this particular singing of the song. And they finally realize that that's what's at stake, and that is more important than this song and their life together. So with that, like you see them oh gosh, what would they do? I imagine like they've got a like a little like extra claw or something that they keep inside of the shell, and they can ring it by going ding, 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 ding,
fascinating.
like that. And so they do that, and you see just this like this exodus, right, of all of these crabs who have sort of like worked their way up to the fluke, and they sort of retreat back into the water. And as they do that, there's this like shot of all these carnivorous insects trying to go after them, and then this swarm of the salt horns with their 8 legs just like hopping back up onto it as the one dry place, and then going after some of these insects as they all sort of like go back down under the water, and the crab shells sort of sink underneath.
Very cool.
Good time for a break?
Yeah, can I do one thing?
A great time.
Sure.
I wanted to try and protect the city from the coral. So Call was going to bring up some of the seafloor and sort of just like encase it. So it'll hopefully hold something in. B will be really obvious if something breaks out of it.
Okay, I love that.
And I was going to use my not on my watch.
Okay.
Defending the interstate with your surroundings move, and I'm not doing great at it. Yeah, that's a 6. That's unfortunate.
Okay. All right. Oh gosh. So go ahead and mark a harmony for that. How does that work?
Do you mark harmonies when you fail?
Oh, you know what? It's actually a 7 because I had +1 forward.
Oh, that's right, because you had yes. All right. So what is the 7 to 9 result?
On a hit, choose one. Can create an advantage for one of your allies. An inhabitant moves to a place of safety, temporarily immobilize or incapacitate the opposition, or acquire something out of reach. So temporarily incapacitating. I mean, that's basically what I'm looking for. Like, they can't come out this way, right? So.
Okay, yeah. So you have blocked that off for the time being. What does it look like as you do this?
I think that they bring up, just like pull like loose sea floor. So it's like, this is normally very clear, bubbly water, and now there's just like this kind of like murky swell up from the bottom. And when it kind of settles out again, I think that they have basically just like, I mean, like you would stroke a shape, they've just like expanded it out in all directions with just like a thick coating of seafloor muck, basically.
Okay, so like everything around here has sort of got like the shadows coming from above, and like the prismatic colors coming down, like on the different multicolor coral, and then there's just this like mound of goo.
Yeah. It's not pretty, but it's effective.
All right, awesome, cool. So yeah, we want to take a quick 5, and then we'll be back.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Awesome. All right.
Yeah, we'll be back in just a moment. Thanks so much, everybody, for hanging out. This is a lot of fun. All right, we are back. We are going to be picking up pretty much right where we left off. So, Richard, take it away.
All right. So we have made an executive decision because we are trying to engage with all the different mechanics. We're going to crank everybody's corruption track up to 3 out of 5. And when you hit 5, bad and interesting things happen. So let's make sure we got that going on. So we left off with the tunnel under the city, sort of closed off for the moment temporarily, and the 3 of you sort of repairing Pando's garden, rescuing the song leader from their own stubbornness, I guess.
Keepers.
Yeah. Calming down the creatures a little bit in the city, and like we said, creating that protective barrier. What do you want to do now? What's the plan to take on this big nasty creature, this corrupted bud?
Well, I was thinking that Call has the ability to teleport and to take others with them.
Mm-hmm. They can move very quickly.
So I was thinking we might head to the kelp forest and see if we can head it off.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how fast it's moving, but it was one thought.
All right. What do y'all think? What about Kihar and Pando?
If it's moving really fast,
Mm-hmm.
I could try to slow it down by going into the tunnel from behind it.
Ooh.
And if it's not going fast enough, then I can make it go faster.
All right.
Chase it into a trap, basically. You guys will use your horrifying little buds and telekinesis to, I don't know, make a giant anvil above where it's going to come out. It's up to you.
Yeah.
Surprise both of us, both me and the horrible creature.
Yeah. I think as you're scooting down that hole, the little buds are lining the walls with you and just racing down.
Mm-hmm.
I do think this is an appropriate time to face a challenge as a team.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. All right. So as you formulate this plan, we can go over to act as a team. Now, Ian, your character gets a bonus to do that.
Yes.
Go ahead and give us that.
Yeah, so when you act as a team to prepare for an infiltration of, rescue from, or travel through treacherous or unpredictable locations, add calm to the results of your roll. On a hit, you get in, but it's up to you to get out. On a 7 to 9, choose one of the following. 10 plus, choose 2. No one knew you were coming. Your way out is uncompromised. What you came for is where you expect it, or you and your friends don't suffer long-term consequences.
Those all sound like good options.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You can have at most 2 of those.
All right. So y'all formulate the plan. Ian, if you want to take it away and give us that roll, we'll see how this plan goes.
Sure.
We've got some questions to answer first.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We've got some questions. Yeah.
Yes, questions. Okay. So when you face a challenge as a team and choose a team leader, then answer the following questions. So for each one, they have a little modifier. So are all the team members pursuing the same resolution?
I think so.
All right.
Big monster. I mean, kill it.
So
right?
specifically, yeah. What's the goal here?
The last time this bud went out of control, I had to destroy them. So I'm probably going to have to destroy a giant bud that's out of control.
And we're trying to do it out of the city,
away from the city. Yeah.
So destroy the bud out of the city. Pando, is that what you're wanting to happen?
I don't know if we're trying to
Pursuing.
destroy it, but we are trying to get it to leave the city.
Okay. So driving it out of the city, destroying it, that sounds like for the most part. We'll give you a +1 for that. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's close enough.
Did the team
0.7,
take did the team take time to prepare for the challenge?
I don't think that one's a yes.
No, I think you're kind of flying by the seat of your pants here.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Does anyone on the team not trust another team member?
I mean, they have my back, obviously. Doing the super dangerous thing of chasing the creature. I mean,
Yeah, I think unless anybody thinks any different, I think y'all are kind of in it together.
Yeah.
And then does everyone on the team have at least one or more conditions? I think the answer to that is no.
I don't think anybody has any conditions.
Yeah, y'all are doing
Unconditional.
y'all are doing pretty well. Yeah. So you're gonna get a +1 according to the move, and then Ian, you'll get your bonus.
Okay. So I get to add my calm. So we'll have a total of +3.
I'm also going to throw in one of my 3 growth that I gained from downtime tending to my garden. So I can spend growth to describe how my garden's benefit helps us. And if I do, I can get a +1 per growth that I spend.
Okay.
So, and I think that's the thing, is like the buds are racing down this pathway, leaving that garden in place. And the gardens, like the zoetrope mouths, are all pointed one way.
Okay.
So if you've ever seen like shark skin, it's smooth in one way, but if you rub the other way, it's like sandpaper because of the way that the scales are like pointed. So it's like you can tell how late it is by the first word that I thought was lubricating, but it's like easing the passage down one way, but preventing passage the other.
Nice. Cool.
Love it. All right. So go ahead and...
So that is +4 then? Cool. And I rolled a 10. So...
Nice.
14.
Heck yeah.
All right. So on that, each of you gets to hold 1 maneuver. So essentially, you can use that to give a +1 to someone else on a basic move they've just made. And you can also use it to give yourself a +1 when defending another or solving wounds. In addition, because you got a 10+, Ian, you get to pick somebody who gets an extra maneuver.
Oh, I think that's probably gonna go to Kihar.
Yes,
they're the one, they're the one in harm's way the most. So
awesome. All right, so y'all can spend those on your basic moves when you use them.
Cool. And then I also have the bonus from get the job done, right?
Yep.
So on 10+, we choose 2. I'm thinking you and your friends won't suffer long-term consequences.
Okay.
Is a good one. And then...
not directly from this travel or getting there, this plan. Yep, okay.
And then let's do what you came for is where you expect it.
All right. So it is not going to do something fun.
Did I steal all your fun?
Yeah. I love that. Okay. So absolutely. So Kihar has sort of like burrowed through that shell, the muck, and down to the entrance, has burrowed through and is having Pando accelerating them down this tunnel, all the while presenting an obstacle for something coming back through it, and protecting them from the sort of like coral lining of this tunnel. And what about Call and Pando? How do you travel to this kelp forest to wait for the creature?
I want to use the follow me ability and go there instantly.
All right. How does that look? How does that happen?
So, well, what it looks like is Call will fold up. I guess I don't know what physical bit of Pando would be transported, or just like another handful of buds.
I don't think that Pando has like a physical body.
Yeah. So probably
we are the interconnectedness of all living things. So I think we are just there.
Nice.
Yeah. So I'm the one that's late to the party, I guess. Yeah, so I will transport myself there.
Okay, cool. So you just sort of like fold in and bloop, and then you're there.
Pretty much, yeah. what it looks like from the outside is that they take their tentacles and like fold them up in and like kind of just like disappear into themselves and they're just gone.
Awesome. All right. So you get to this kelp forest. So let's take a minute to describe. Oh yeah.
I'm sorry. If I want to do it instantly, I need to mark a condition.
All right.
So I will do that real quick. I just wanted to note.
So how you feeling?
Yeah, right.
Do you want to talk about conditions? I don't think we've actually done.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So conditions are essentially a counterpoint to each one of the individual stats. So you've got hope, altruism, community, calm, and drive, which are your 5 stats. And associated with each one of them is a condition. So when you mark that, you get a -2 when you're rolling with that stat. And additionally, if you mark all of them and you cannot mark another one and you're required to mark another one, you are out of the scene, and your character is not doing so hot. In our case, we've got despairing, selfish, isolated, angry, or conflicted.
And I chose to mark conflicted because I think Call feels like they want to be a protector of the community, and so to leave at this juncture is really hard for them, even though they think it's probably the best. They're worried that there's going to be some element of that corruption that's still in the heart of the city that they won't be there to defend against.
All right. Cool. All right, so you get there. Pando has sort of shifted their focus towards this area, and there is a kelp forest. And just looking at it, initially there doesn't seem to be any obvious place where you would expect this this tunnel to emerge. What do you want to do now?
Can I scan for it since I kind of knew what it looked like from before?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Is that just to scan the environment?
Yep.
Excellent. And then I do that with calm because I'm a specialist. Ooh, I rolled 11. I'm rolling really well.
Nice.
13 total.
Okay. So then, what do you think this spot where this tunnel emerges looks like inside of this kelp forest? This like with a rocky seabed that all the different kelp are sort of clinging to.
Yeah, I think there's all these really long columns of kelp, and I think when you get down to a certain part of the seabed, it's the soil is discolored. It's a little bit darker. It doesn't have quite it's more uniform in color, but the kelp is not connected to it anymore. Like something is sustaining the kelp, but they're not rooted. It's like the kelp over this patch is just being used as like a disguise, basically.
Interesting. Okay. All right. So yeah, so you work your way over there and you find this patch of something. Let's cut over to Kihar. So you are shooting down this tunnel. You've got the blossoms and everything sort of lining this tunnel as you shoot down it. You have gone a long ways at this point at top speed. You start to sense that whatever this thing is, it's getting closer, or you're gaining on it. You're not quite sure how far you are from the others at the moment, and then you sort of reach out and you can tell that there's the moment where you can feel them far behind you somewhere, and then they're in front of you. Like, okay, there they are. And they are not too far away at this point. What would you like to do?
Well, are they done preparing the trap?
I don't know. What have you
No.
done to prepare?
If they haven't prepared the trap yet, then I have to slow the thing down so it doesn't
Okay.
interrupt them.
All right. How are you going to do that?
Well, I need to get its attention. So I'll probably turn on my high beams and blink at it.
All right. So I think like you can sort of see it moving in front of you now, just like right at the edge of the distance of the light that you're projecting. And you're moving quickly, and you see it start to slow and then stop. And you see these tendrils sort of like like pulsing with this weird movement that you've seen before in the buds, but it just doesn't seem right, and it's got this like gooey consistency, and it stops.
It just stops.
Uh-huh.
Well, I'll stop too. And we'll have a stare off.
Okay.
Because all I'm doing is stalling.
And then it pounces.
All right, bring it.
So so how do you respond to that, I suppose?
How is it pouncing? Like, is it?
So it just shoots a couple of
Sea bugs.
tendrils back down the tunnel at you, and tries to grab you.
All right, I'm gonna try to, like, basically, I'm going to like snip them with my beak, like scissors. Just like get out of the way and snip them. Get out of the way and snip them.
Okay.
Just very dodge and snip. Dodge and snip.
Alright.
So I'm gonna try to remove them from my path. Just make them into like little crappy tendrils.
Okay, so you're gonna like directly attack it. That sounds like you are unleashing, which is in the, I believe, special moves. Yeah.
Let me find it. Unleash. I will give into violence.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you want to fight? All right, let's fight.
All right. So we've got some questions. This is actually a new formulation of this move. So are you doing this to protect your community?
Yes.
All right, that's a +1. Are you doing this because you're the only one who can?
Right now, yep.
Okay.
Nobody else can slow this thing down besides me, because I'm the only one here.
And are there really no other options?
Well, it hasn't exactly tried to talk to me, but I haven't exactly tried to talk to it.
All right, so you're rolling at a +2.
Yeah, so I don't know. I haven't explored all the options. All right. And I can't remember if I have any special whatchamacallits with this.
I mean, you could consider, let's see, you've got go to it laughing, you've got due to internalized pain, heart of violence.
Well, I guess when I stopped there and had a stare off with it, I could be that could be the laughing at it thing. It's like, oh, I thought we were going now, but now we're stopping. Okay, well, stop then. Whenever you're ready, like that kind of like, just,
Nice.
mocking it.
Yeah. I mean, sure. If you think it counts, let's go for it.
Yes. You guys are all like, what is it doing? Making fun of it. Well, I failed, so.
Oh.
I rolled a 3, so I don't think anything can increase that high enough unless you guys help me with your maneuver.
That was the laugh. For the
laughing.
Go do it laughing roll. Okay.
Okay. I think in that case, you're gonna have a bad time. So let's see. Okay. So that is interesting. Okay. So, your plan was to go and snip off some of these tendrils to get its attention and maybe destroy some of them? Yeah?
And protect myself mostly. Like,
Okay.
if it's going to attack me with anything, I'm going to show that I can destroy everything it attacks me with.
All right.
Or disarm it or whatever.
So, so yeah, you're you're able to, with your beak, just shear off the ends of the first 2 or 3 tendrils that come at you. The problem is there's a lot more than that. And so as you're swimming around in this confined space, even with sort of the polyp and growth armor that you have from Pando, you can't quite slip away as several of these tendrils just sort of sink into the armor around you and start to bring you into itself. Go ahead and first off, mark a harmony because you failed.
Yes.
And then I'm gonna have you resist corruption because that's that's not real good.
Exposed to concentrated or insidious corruption. Roll corruption.
Definitely.
Well, now we have 3 corruption because we just decided to have 3 corruption.
Yep.
So
we decided we were gonna ratchet.
Well, I rolled garbage again, so but that's good.
Okay,
Yeah.
What'd you get?
I got a 7 to 9 because I rolled a 4.
All right. So on a 10 plus, real bad things happen. On a 7 to 9, you stave off the corruption for now, but something inside you is unsettled. Mark a condition. So how does this make you feel?
I don't care because I internalize the pain. When you shrug off significant insult or injury, you may choose to mark corruption instead of marking a condition. So I'll make
Put you at 5 then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So might as well have rolled a 10, but it didn't work its way deeper into me. It hit me hard enough, and like it's hurting enough that my suppression of that is where the corruption is coming. It's coming from inside the house. It doesn't come from outside the house. It comes from inside the house.
Oh man, I love that. Okay, so I wasn't expecting to get to that mechanic right off the bat, but that's perfect.
Wait, did you get net 2 there or just the 1?
Just the 1.
Okay.
So now I'm at 4.
Yep.
All right, awesome. So,
But no conditions.
oh, that's right, because you didn't have to mark the corruption with the. Oh, gotcha. Okay, so you're hanging out at 4. Things are real bad. So, you all can sort of feel this happening. Call and Pando, you are able to experience some small measure of what's happening in the tunnel. What are you doing?
Yeesh. Well, Pando can be in the tunnel, right? Because there's buds in there. But I need to catch up again, so I'm gonna I think I'm just gonna use my follow me ability and travel a significant distance faster than normal and just like zoom back along the line and figure out where underground they are.
Okay, so you're gonna be above the seafloor then?
Yeah.
Or are you going into the tunnel? Okay. Okay, so you're able to sort of backtrack. They are near the exit, so they're not too far away.
Okay.
And you are there instantaneously. What are you able to do at this point? What do you want to do from where you are?
Oh, gosh, from where I I feel like they're gonna take their telekinesis and just like backhoe the stuff out away from Kihar. Just like grab a hunk of the seafloor and try and pull it out.
Okay, cool. So you're like gonna collapse the tunnel and just like shove it back away from Kihar so they can get away.
Yeah, I was thinking like pull up a chunk of the seafloor that contains it. Hopefully,
Okay.
just like root it out of the tunnel altogether.
Yeah, I mean that sounds like something you can definitely do, but it does sound like maybe that's doing something wondrous, perhaps.
Sure. Ooh,
or you could say it's defending someone with the environment, right? Depends on how you want to do it.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's pretty much exactly what I'm doing, huh? So we'll do the not on my watch move.
Yep.
Awesome. So it is a roll plus hope. I got an 8.
Okay.
And I had +1 ongoing from my scan. I don't know if that counts or not for this, but
Yeah.
Can I
think
boost it with a maneuver?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you
So-
can be sort of like, oh yeah,
What exactly are you trying to do? Like you're using the earth, or rather the silt in this tunnel to move it or something?
I mean, Call is really like reaching into the earth and grabbing the thing. and pulling it out with earth
Are you
kind of
grabbing
around
me?
it. No, the whatever this blob of ferrofluid nastiness is.
Oh, you're pulling it out, not in the kelp forest, but like wherever it is now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
okay.
like you know, a bit of the ways down the tunnel. So like they went to where basically right above where you were at in the tunnel,
Mm-hmm.
and are now just gonna like dig it up.
Yeah, this
Okay,
is not
so
this is not the
I know how
plan.
I'm
This is
gonna
a
help.
reaction. This is not
Yeah,
really a
I know
great
how
idea.
I'm gonna help.
Okay.
So I have a malleable body, and so whenever I'm attacked by being engulfed by something, I regress to an egg state, just sort of like curl up into like a fetal position, and then just like Batmobile armor goes around me. And so what I'm gonna do now is one of the things that Keyheart does in their spare time is compress air, just so that they can have as much air as they need, just all the time. You know, just it's in little eggs, like little baby eggs, and so when I'm inside the egg, I'm just gonna start breaking the air and expanding the egg, so that it's more and more gas. And it's just going to be like, this thing ate me, but now it's like it ate a hot air balloon. It's just going to start getting pulled up.
Nice.
So basically,
amazing.
the buoyancy is going to pull it up out of the ground and uproot it. So it's
Love that.
like, you thought you were eating me, but I was bait. And this is this is the fishing rod that's just like yanking it up.
Amazing.
And and so we're gonna come out real fast.
All right.
Cool.
And maybe I'll blow you up too when I turn the egg off.
So with that maneuver, I think I'm actually at a 10 then.
Mhm.
Right?
All
yeah.
right.
Awesome. So I will create an advantage for my ally, and an inhabitant moves to a place of safety. So I'll say I yank, like as this is happening, I yank Keyheart out of the thing, and also hopefully set it up to be.
All right.
And he's your target, I guess. I don't know. I didn't take kindly to my friend being swallowed.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, Kihar, you were definitely able to like shoot up out of this, and there's like the moment where there's this just like rumbling, you know, like earth and seafloor coming up, and like you just shoot out of it up towards the surface. And there's all this, you know, debris floating around and silt and sand flowing around in the water, and that's all you can see for a moment. Pando, how you doing?
We are actually doing pretty good. We're really excited that our friends are like successful, although we're very worried about Kihar.
I'm fine.
Now,
Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, so there's bits of extensions of you that are hanging out in that tunnel, right? That were helping Kihar get along down that tunnel.
Yeah,
How are those bits of you doing?
they're probably covered in weird little corruption bits, I think.
Uh-huh. You wanna you wanna resist corruption for me?
I would really love to.
Oh
And
man,
add 3.
I just realized if you're like all living things, then like corrupting you or like a part of you must be like the easiest thing in the universe. You can just corrupt anything.
Yeah. Well, and like I said earlier, I'm the interconnectedness of all living things. I'm not just the interconnectedness of non-corrupted things.
Yeah.
I rolled a 7.
Okay.
Plus 3 is 10,
Oh boy,
which is
That's-
real good.
that's real good.
Can I? Is that something you can maneuver to? Mitigate
Unfortunately,
it? Not so
that's
much,
not
huh?
a basic move.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah, so on a 10 plus, the corruption works its way deeper into your mind, body, and soul. Mark a corruption.
Yeah. So now I'm at 4 corruption,
All right.
and we're not doing so hot. We're gonna try and make some more buds.
Okay.
When in
because
doubt, bud.
Yeah,
Exactly.
we need some friends here. Oh, that's good. I got a 9, so I'm gonna spend the second of my 3 growth to make that a 10.
Okay.
And the 3 options that I'm going to choose are mobile, tactile, and vocal.
Okay.
So I did not choose docile, which means that they are overly aggressive or anxious.
Okay.
And I'm going to, they are going to like shout out messages of support at Kihar and.
Amazing.
Just made little cheerleader buds.
Yeah. So yeah, they're gonna shout out messages of support, and then they're gonna help propel that piece of ground up.
Okay. So you're shooting it up towards the surface then?
Yes.
All right. So this sort of ball of earth, and there's obviously some interesting coral mixed in there that forms part of the tunnel, and the Sultan, and it's very sort of like murky as all this stuff goes flying upwards, and then sort of bobs on the surface for a moment. Kihar, where are you going once you come out of like that mass?
I don't know. So maybe I could conserve momentum and try to break free.
Okay.
Oh, I think
once it breaches the surface, maybe I could like continue. I don't know. Maybe
You can
I could
fly up into the air.
Yeah, I'm gonna jump out of the egg, I guess. Just leave the egg behind.
Okay.
And then I don't know. Shoot a Kamehameha at it or something like that.
Okay, so I imagine like you. So yeah, so like you've come up from below, and you like shoot up out of the water, and like the mass is like starting to come up, and the buds show up, and they're like propelling it upwards as they go. Call, what are you doing at this point?
I mean, I guess it seems like we're hurtling this thing into the not water, so we're probably just using their telekinetic to. I mean, I think we are all acting in concert to just sort of heave this thing. So.
Okay. So it like starts breaking apart as it goes towards the surface. I think Kihar, like you have flown up into the air, and you're like just reaching the apex of that as you start to like turn around and look down. And you see like this chunk of rock and everything just explode out. And from within it is this many tentacled, like just mass of goo and fluid. What do you do as you come down?
Is there an obvious heart or like something I can? I want to strike at it from.
What do you think, Taylor? Is there an obvious part of the buds that's vulnerable?
I don't think that there's an obvious part of the bud, but I think that might be a blessing because it doesn't matter where you hit it, you just have to hit it.
You just have to hit it. Well, okay. I'm gonna have to use my malleable body then.
Ooh.
To, I think. So when I'm flying up into the air, right? I'm also like maneuvering, like turning in the air like a diver, right?
Yeah.
And orienting my body in such a way that I can also like make my neck grow really, really long, or my beak and neck, so that like I can, how divers like can dive up and sort of jackknife their bodies and start spinning really fast. So this Kihar jumps up and grows their beak as big as this thing is, so that I can bisect it when I fall down, and then just like jackknifes its body, which to like start spinning really fast. And then just does like a perfect belly flop, really, but with a knife.
Yeah, knife flop.
Yeah. On top of this creature that is being propped up by you guys like an anvil.
Yeah, I did.
Interesting. Okay.
So,
I used one of my not on my watch to create an advantage for an ally. So I don't know. I don't know what mechanically that does, but I did was trying to set this up for them.
In this case, maybe like you can keep it bottled up, so kind of like it's not exactly the same physics, but the idea of like the whole shape charge thing where like you get all the force into one place, like you basically create like a little cone for it, just go
Oh man. Well, I don't want to cone it, because if we cone it, then it's gonna splatter out everywhere. I was thinking more like it's just a big cutting board, and I'm just gonna like slam it and then like bounce and then like try to attach my feet. You know, penguins have stupid little feet that are like optimal for like running around glaciers and stuff like that. So my little claws will grab this cutting board, and then I'll just keep on bouncing back and forth and just start chopping it up into little pieces like a sushi chef. Until
amazing.
until it's completely pulverized and obliterated.
Okay, I love that.
So yes, goodbye.
All right, so Call, you're keeping it in position so it can't run away or like reach up with tendrils maybe during this particular action. So go for it. That definitely sounds like an unleash.
Yeah, so I'm afraid I'm giving into violence. I decided on violence when I reached the apex of the thing. It's like, you're dead.
Yeah.
I am doing this to protect my community. I am the only one that can do this. I'm pretty sure I'm the only one that can do this. And are there really no other options? It's sort of like, you gotta do it. When your enemy is like laid on a cutting board beneath you, like this is what you have to do. So as crazy as it is, Kihar is the type of creature that's just like, I have to kill this now. Like there's no other way.
Okay.
And
for them, that is true.
And that might be like a flaw in Kihar. That might be corruption. That might be whatever, or it might be predatory instinct. But that's just the way it is.
All right.
3, 2 is 5, plus 3 is 8. And I don't think I can spend maneuver on that. So that is what
that's an 8. So on a hit, you tear scale from skin and face the consequences. So choose one and
oh man, you lose control in a brutal or terrifying way. That one sounds like the best one.
Yeah. So and you get an 8, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So you actually get to choose 2.
Okay.
So they retaliate as indicated by the narrative. You lose ground, and your opponent gains an opportunity where you lose control in a brutal or terrifying way.
Well, you gotta go with you lose control in a brutal or terrifying way.
Okay.
Even with the description, with a trigger like that, I don't think I can resist that particular one.
All right, and then
since I'm basically trapped on the surface with this thing, it probably gets to retaliate as indicated by the narrative.
Okay.
Like it has nowhere else to go. It's on a dish. It's on a cutting board in the open air.
Okay, so you 100% just go ham on this thing. You are wrecking bits and pieces of it. I think the what's the emotion that accompanies this just horrifying display of violence for your character? I'd like you to pick a condition and mark that. I think that's how you're going to lose control in a brutal or terrifying way, like to represent that.
Probably selfish.
Okay.
Like this, like I don't care what anybody else thinks about violence. This is my purpose. Like,
okay.
I have to kill. Like, and so it's selfish of me to like not care about like the fact that these guys are along for the ride and everything below, like can feel like what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
And so I'm just gonna be selfish and just like, well, there's no other way. Bah, you know, like even though we didn't explore any other way, because it's like this, there's no other way.
Okay. I think that like Call, you're sort of containing all of this as much as possible to keep it from spreading anywhere. And so like Kihar, there are just bits and pieces and chunks flying everywhere, and I think like you get to a point where you have the decision of like you can kill this thing, but if you do, like you have to go deep into it to do that. And I think that's what happens is it's able to retaliate because it just envelops you again with the little disparate pieces as they're dying. And I'm gonna say, ooh, is that an endure or resist corruption?
Resist corruption.
That feels like
we already did resist corruption.
You can never resist corruption too many times.
I want to see a resist corruption for that because I think you are 100% being exposed to concentrated or insidious corruption.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it's a 10, so
All right.
that was
So
my
on a,
5th corruption.
yep, on a 10 plus, the corruption works its way deeper into your mind, body, and soul. Go ahead and mark corruption. At that, you're going to hit the 5 mark, which means you now get to clear your corruption track. And you get to pick one of the corruption moves that are part of your playbook. There are a couple that will be generally available, and basically those add corruption to the community. But for this, like 100%, we got to see what you're gonna do with the corruption move that's on your sheet. So go ahead and give those a quick read. While you're doing that, what are Pando and Call doing as this thing dies? And you sense what's
Pando's
happening to Kihar.
Coiling in psychic pain, because we are the interconnectedness of all living things. I don't know how many times I can say that.
I mean, you want to maybe endure, because that feels like you've taken.
I feel like a living
psychic
thing
trauma.
dying is probably not the greatest.
Oh, well, then I know which corruption move to pick.
So we are using the last of the growth as like this thing dies and all of the zoetropes and like mouths just wrinkle and wither into grayness. And we're like literally drawing on our garden being here, and all the buds just kind of shrivel up into grapes or into raisins. And that puts us at a 7.
Ooh.
All
right.
If there's a maneuver, I can get down to 6.
I haven't used a maneuver yet.
I would love.
Yeah. So I think that I think that Call is having a hard time like watching this happen, like having a hard time being a like steady surface for this, as you know, Kier just slowly rips it up, and as it's getting shredded, it's probably harder and harder to contain anyway. So I think Call just more kind of turns back to, instead of supporting the attack, going back to being more defensive, and just sort of like, you know, strengthening the connection with their two allies that are both clearly suffering, and just trying to lend them psychic support as much as possible.
All right. So Taylor, what are the so that made it a 6-, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So I
Do you need another? Oh wait, never mind.
Yeah, it's okay.
To mark my 5th point of harmony,
Hey.
Ooh, nice.
because I have failed many times.
Well, you learn a lot.
Yeah, and also every time that I'm okay when I endure, which I have done twice now, I get harmony.
Nice.
And I am going to choose to gain another playbook move.
Ooh. All right.
Kihar, you said that you're finished, like, shredding this thing, right?
I am, right?
Yeah. You
It's
just you killed
utterly
it. Done.
massacred and destroyed.
Yep.
So I guess like the dead bones, or the dead bones of my garden are like shuffled together by the last little limping bits of my buds, and they cobble up this weird like container. And so the move that I chose is it plugs in where.
Oh, that's a good one.
You use your personal energy in the living environment to create and or power a bioelectric or genetically modified device. So this is a device that is going to hold this like creature's corpse.
Amazing.
Safe container. Ideally, I have to roll first. But it's with altruism. and I get a plus. Glad I got that +2.
What'd you end up with?
I ended up with 8.
Okay.
So, on a hit, you power the device and it works as intended. But, and on a 7 to 9, I get to choose one of a few options. Oh, good. And here we go, the fallout of this thing. Something you used to make the device was infected, or its use makes you question your ethics or morals. Sure does. It uses an urn. So I am going to resist corruption as a result of this.
All right.
And so I'm rolling +4. Not good. I got an 11.
Okay.
So I am marking my 5th point of corruption and filling that track as well.
Oh,
all
geez.
right. So yeah, as that's happening, Kihar, what did you go for?
Oh, I chose slaughter.
Ooh.
So the next time we fight something, I am going to have to do it like this again, unfortunately. 'Cause it's too fun.
All right. You want to read that one out for the audience playing at home?
You rip the life from something that opposes you. It is utterly destroyed. The corruption rejoices as the elation of triumph fills you until you see its aftermath, and the corruption retreats, temporarily sated by the violence. Its absence leaves numbness and loss in its wake, mark two conditions, and describe the permanent loss of relationship or an item of great importance.
All right.
So
I've got ideas
that
for
later,
that.
I think. Yeah.
I mean, we do have a kelp forest over here, and somebody that is made of kelp and gave you an item of great importance. But I'm sure that it has, I'm sure that won't come up.
Nah.
It's fine.
Yeah, it's all fine here.
Those things totally aren't just like on the train tracks right now.
Oh yeah. Ian, what is and I will say that Taylor, it is a good thing that you created that container, because Ian was going to have Call sort of deal with holding that corpse with telekinesis and sort of containing it, but you scooped that up for the moment.
Awesome.
What's Call doing at this point as all this is happening?
I think Call's priority is to extend their senses out and see if we actually dealt with all of it, or if there's more of that stuff squirreled away somewhere.
Okay. Taylor, do you have move picked out?
I haven't quite yet.
Okay, then we'll go ahead and
Actually, no, I think I do, because this move, I think, is maybe a good point to bring us to like the end of this session and try and usher in the next one.
Okay.
Hidden Thorns. Your garden changes to solve a large-scale problem in the community, reducing the corruption in the area temporarily. Choose a corrupted element on your community map and remove a corruption token. The next time a token is placed anywhere in your community, place two corruption tokens on the element you choose, and describe how the hidden thorns reveal themselves.
Okay, that is going to be the perfect intro to the next one.
Nice.
So before we do that, and let's hear what Call is doing, and then we'll check in with everybody, and we'll see how that goes.
I mean, yeah, like Call is definitely at the what have we done place, but like, I don't know if that's more of a reflective, after we shut things down kind of thing. But that's they're just like pretty overwhelmed by the series of events right there, and feeling the anguish of their two compatriots. So
okay. Then in that case, the question that you asked about whether you've taken care of all of it, you have definitely taken care of the creature, the biggest threat. I think you can still sense that, like the tunnel is there, and you can still, that's still a thing that you will have to deal with.
Yeah, there's something up with the coral still, but
yeah.
Are you scanning?
What's that?
Are you scanning the environment?
I think like narratively, like that happens. We don't need to roll for it.
All right.
And so Taylor, tell us about these thorns and what happens.
Yeah. So the garden has grown now to connect the Fluke and the coral. And so it's like stitching together like a wound closing.
Wow.
And it rights the Fluke to its previous position, and it's like grown in the cracks in the stone.
Wow.
And it's also one of the things that I've really loved recently, like an aesthetic, is roots that are breaking up rock. So like a tree that has grown in and is crumbling like a cliff face around it. And so the impact of the fluke on the coral did not break the coral, but now this garden like worming its way into it is now starting to like crack and disintegrate this once indestructible, like unknowing, terrifying thing.
Awesome.
Oh, that's really interesting.
Very cool.
Okay. And like, does it start with like that entrance that Kihar went into earlier, and we get like that callback as like the stuff grows into there, and you get that?
Yeah, and like a very like close, tight camera zoom in on it as like the coral just goes.
Yes.
Excellent.
Amazing. Okay.
Very cool.
So we see that. I don't know that I've ever seen done.
I was just about to say.
Yeah, like I am super stoked that we're gonna get to see this. So we get that shot of like what's happening there, and then we see we have this moment of like everyone back in the psychic sanctuary that you share. And when you pause to reflect on the harm you've caused, roll plus conditions marked. So I think Call will let you take the lead on this one as you've sort of seen what's going on. I think Kihar and Pando have had their own experiences and their own consequences, but I definitely want to see how Call's doing after all of this.
So I have one condition marked.
Okay.
And I rolled.
I could try to clear it with my maneuvers, maybe.
I mean, do we think that there's like, because the would you be using like a salve move and then?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm terrible at it. It's not going to work, but I gotta try.
So to do that, that's in the. That is.
I have to ask you if you're willing to.
There you go.
If I'm willing to.
Accept my help.
Yeah. So
I actually feel great right now. I just cleared my corruption track.
So what does this look like? Like how is Kihar, or like what do they say, or what do they sort of share with Call as this conversation happens?
Mm-hmm. It's my bloody work is done, and so Kihar is like going back to their favorite, like cute penguin form. And so it's just sort of like shaking its head, and the beak is getting shorter and shorter and shorter.
Oh,
and like it's absolutely adorable
and super cute.
Yeah, exactly. And just like preening itself and just like, that was ugly and horrible, but we're right back to normal. Like everything, balance has been restored, everything's gonna be fine. But you're transparent and you need help, so ask.
So yeah, so what does Call think of Kihar's like offer of like comfort?
I don't know. That's a pretty disquieting image right there. I don't think Call feels reassured by that.
Okay, that's 100% fair. Yeah. But I love that, like that image of that happening and being like, I'm uneasy. Okay. So we'll head back over to the
I'll chide Call for being as stubborn as a certain hermit crab I had to save.
Oh, ouch.
Fair enough.
So yeah, you get to roll plus conditions marked. And what'd you get with that?
I rolled a 6 and I have one condition, so I ended up at a 7.
All right. So on a hit, you worry that your actions were a part of who you are, who you were, or who you're becoming, and you have to choose one out of a fun list.
Yeah. So I only have conflicted. And that's clear, conflicted, and act to prove yourself and your actions, or I can resist corruption. I think I'm actually, as you know, I know it's going to be disappointing to Taylor, but I I think that seeing that happen to their two friends is going to just be like kind of steal them to like try and hold on and to their idealism and to the purity of life, and not like they're a cautionary tale to call right now.
Ooh, that's rough. Okay.
So I'll clear a corruption. We get 2.
Clear the conflicted condition, you mean?
Oh,
Or-
you can resist corruption.
Yeah.
I see. So it's not clear it. It's
It's the worst one.
Yeah.
yeah. I
Says that.
see. I see.
Because
Yeah.
if you can't like do something.
I gotcha. All right. So yeah, I misread that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I will clear conflicted, which means I need to act to prove myself and my
Yeah.
actions.
Yeah.
So
So, like,
You should
how do you
definitely
show
go.
that what you did was the right thing
Yeah.
compared to what they were doing?
Yeah. Yeah, I think they're just really struggling with like whether. I mean, we are. I think they are reflecting in there wasn't even an attempt for communication, that like we collectively kind of went straight to like hunting and violence, and that's like they feel like because they were mostly supportive and defensive, that in a way in this moment they were almost cowardly, and their friends stepped up to the challenge in a way that they didn't. I think is what this looks like, is that's what's removing confliction from them.
And what does that cause them to do? Like, what moment do we see Call having or feeling because of this?
I think that Call, kind of as the other two are leaving, Call will pick up a piece of the coral, the corrupted coral, and just sort of like secret away in its tentacle, and it's gonna like carry that as like a memento to try and like inspire them to live up to their friend's example. Like these are the stakes, kind of a thing.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, we've got one more thing that we're gonna do. So we've sort of seen the effects of this in sort of their minds and everything, and what they're doing. But let's go into that psychic sanctuary, and let's see what they're seeing. Let's feel what they're sharing with each other. So go ahead and just take a nice deep breath. All right. So in this psychic sanctuary, where you can experience what each other experience, you can see what each other see, where you can reflect the turmoil that's going on inside. What is Pando sharing and experiencing with the others?
Sense of loss, not only just of like the creature that was killed, and the garden that was desiccated and destroyed, but also just a sense of like a loss of self, and potentially a loss of control, and like a rending of having to do violence to save a community.
And where this space is normally sort of has the light filtering from the prism above, and the sort of like shaded sands with rippling designs along the bottom. What does the space look like for them now?
Oh, I think that there's no light now because the garden has started to like grow over the windows or any openings.
Yeah. All right. What about Kihar? What is Kihar sharing and experiencing in this space?
It's probably... Well, there's no light anymore.
Where before it was like under the glacier and there was that calm, peaceful light.
Mm-hmm. So this is just an environment. Are we not in the environment?
You
Just
can be
like
there, yeah,
extension?
absolutely, yeah. What does their emotional state look like to the rest of the group in this space where they, they can project themselves and they can sort of like they can be there if they'd like to, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So there will just be Kihar in the egg again,
Mm.
but like preening and cleaning and making sure, like with the 360-degree, like bird neck thing, just like looking
Mhm.
everywhere, and like there's nothing, like there's no flaws, and then just like but preening anyway, just preparing, and it's just like, oh, it
Mhm.
sucks to work and to have to do these things, but it's the rote of hygiene, and it's just sort
Mm.
of like get back into the rhythm of preparedness, and like
Yeah.
that sort of like that sort of rhythm is one that even when the world is in complete dissonance and all that, inside the egg everything is fine, or rather time hasn't stopped or gone off the rails.
Yeah.
Even though there's no light, there's still light within the egg.
I love that. Okay. And Call, what does Call share an experience in the space right now?
I think that Call is much smaller with respect to the space than they were before. Like
Mm.
they feel diminished and feel diminished in the presence of their friends. And I think that in the space before, they felt like they were a barrier protecting their friends from the outside world, and they have shrunken within the garden now. Like they're not the external element anymore. And I think that their kind of like multicolor bioluminescent display has become a very like it's still like kind of twinkly and changing, but it's only a single color at a time, just kind of like oscillating through
Oh,
blues
interesting.
and greens.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Take a deep breath. That's Descent into Midnight, guys.
Awesome.
Hooray!
Hell yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, so we will pick this up next Monday, 6 p.m. Pacific, and we will have Rich Howard with us, which will be a blast. And then hopefully Mika will be better and we can have her as well. We'll have the full crew. And we'll see. I'm nervous for a little community. We'll see
It'll
what
be
happens to
fine.
the city of Song in the wake of that battle. So, Richard, thank you so much for running. That was a blast. And Taylor and Amado, thank you so much for coming in and playing. That was fantastic. And thanks for everybody who hung out and chat tonight. And we will see you all next week. Bye.
All right.
Bye.